What is up, guys? You're listening to SportsBiz with Rashaad. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome to the very first episode of SportsBiz with Rashaad. So, I tried to actually record this episode probably 50 or 60 times now, and every time I tried, I just didn't like the way it sounded, or it sounded like I was rambling on, and I didn't like my script. I just wanted to throw it all away and start over. So instead of trying the same thing again, I said, let's try something different. And what I did was I got my girlfriend to come on here and actually interview me. As you guys know, for most of the episodes, I'll be interviewing other people. But I thought, why not do an interview on myself for the first episode, and just as a good introduction to get to know me. So, yeah, welcome to the podcast, Danielle.
Thank you. Excited to be here. So I kind of just compiled a list of questions from Google. I'm going to ask you them and see how it goes.
All right.
Okay, so very first question. Let's talk about who you are. What school do you go to, and what's your dream job?
Okay, so school. I am currently an undergraduate student. I'm going into my second year of the Honors Business Administration program. That's at Wilfrid Laurier University. I plan to major in finance, along with completing a legal studies option and also a minor in economics.
Yeah, so why Wilfrid Laurier University, for all your viewers who don't really know you? Why did you choose that school?
I feel like it's kind of an underdog school, to be honest. It's known as a party school, but they have a really good business program, I find, very good co-op program, and lots of extracurriculars. And then just financially as well, they were kind of a school that is very lenient on finances, and they have a lot of kind of bursaries and scholarships available.
Yeah, for sure. And you don't live in Waterloo, just to make that clear.
No, I was actually raised, I went to high school and even elementary school in a town called Milton, Ontario. It's about an hour away from Toronto.
Mm-hmm. And you are living on campus or commuting quickly?
So last year I lived on campus. Obviously now with COVID-19, it'll be online, but my grandparents actually live pretty close to the school, about 15 minutes away. So just to save money, I plan to live there when we actually get back to school. And then answering your question about dream job, my dream job for the past few years now has definitely been either a player agent in the NFL or MLB, or a general manager of a professional sports team.
Nice. So do you play sports then, or?
Yeah, so right now I just kind of play with my friends, but growing up I played competitive baseball for about 7-8 years, some flag football, volleyball, beach volleyball, a little bit of golf as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And why those sports? Those are just kind of...
Yeah, those are just kind of what I was most drawn to.
Yeah, nice. And do you have a job right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm actually doing a virtual internship at a company called Slant Sports Management. It's a full-service basketball agency. Unfortunately, it is all online, but that is most jobs right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy that I got the experience.
Yeah, and is that your first sports-related job then, or?
First sports-related job, yes. I'm actually also the executive vice president of a club at school called Sports Management Laurier. I just got that position a couple months ago, and we haven't really got things rolling yet, but as the school year starts, I will be in that role.
Mm-hmm, executive vice president. Very fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about, the most important thing. Why did you choose to start a podcast, and how has that experience been so far?
So, why I chose to start a podcast? Well, basically, I've just heard from a lot of people in the industry that it's a good way to build your brand. You know, podcast viewership has been exploding over the past few years. At first, to be honest, I thought it was kind of stupid just listening to someone talk.
Yeah.
But as I got to listen to them, I found them actually quite entertaining. And you really get a lot of insight on the world and what's out there when people do interviews and just talk about their lives even, or different lessons. You get a lot of different pieces of advice, and I found that pretty entertaining. I like the fact that you can listen to them wherever, when you're driving, when you're at home, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And so my experience, well, this is only the first episode, and as I mentioned, it was quite difficult at first. It's actually a lot harder to just record yourself speaking and then listen back to it and hope it sounds great. It actually doesn't sound as great as you want it to be, but it's an ongoing process, and I hope as I progress, it'll get better. And then for anyone actually thinking about starting a podcast or a blog, a website, or business, or whatever it may be, I highly recommend you just get started. Whatever it is that's holding you back, just try not to let that get to you, and just start, because worst case, if it doesn't work out, you won't regret not trying in the first place. So just don't be afraid. Put yourself out there. Start building your brand, because if you don't, nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of fun. Like, it's really fun sitting here and being able to talk into this mic.
It's a lot more fun than it actually seems.
Yeah, for sure. What's an interesting fact about you? Tell us something about yourself.
All right, an interesting fact is I was born with a hole in my heart. Mm-hmm. And by that, I don't mean I was heartbroken at birth, but I had a leak in between the chambers of my heart. So I had 2 open heart surgeries, one when I was 3 months old, and then another one when I was 3 years old.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that is that you still pursued sports despite that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, it definitely has some challenges. Being on those drugs, it kind of slows your growth. I had to relearn how to walk and how to talk and do different things like that. But over time, it's gotten easier.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about your life, I guess, and where you want to be in the future and your past. So let's start off with, I guess, your past first. How different was your life 1 year ago?
Well, I mean, I think everyone's life was a lot different a year ago with COVID-19. Yeah. Personally, the virus hasn't affected anyone I know, thankfully. Unfortunately, though, when the lockdowns had just started in mid-March, my mom actually passed away, pretty shockingly, during the night. So that was a pretty life-changing event. Luckily, I had a lot of support from family and friends, and so that's kind of helped me, and that's also kind of given me the perseverance and courage to actually take a leap and get this podcast started. It is kind of a little bit nerve-wracking to talk about things and put it out there, but definitely that has helped me, just given me the the extra perseverance and courage to do it.
That's pretty amazing how you changed that around.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in the next few years?
So the next few years, I actually want to go on exchange. If you still think you want to come with me, then yeah, we'll go. But I plan to do an exchange semester in 4th year. Yeah. We're thinking maybe Paris, maybe Norway, maybe Switzerland, somewhere in Europe.
I say Paris.
Yeah, of course. Most girls would, but yeah, definitely plan to go on exchange, and that's kind of the big thing. And then after university, I do plan on getting my master's. We'll see if it'll happen right away or what happens, but with 2020, if 2021 or 2022 is anything like this year, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah,
it's very true. More about yourself. What are your hobbies?
So hobbies other than doing this podcast, for those of you who don't know, you and I actually started a blog back in December. It's called Eyes of Our Lives. It's just a personal blog it's just a platform kind of that allows us to talk about our experiences. As a student, we touch on categories like student life. What else do we do? Personal growth, social injustices, and I do a little bit of sports as well.
Yeah. That'd be something for everyone to check out. Just a little self-promo, eyesofourlives.com.
Yeah, for sure. And check out the social media as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question. What was your first job?
First job was at Tim Hortons, just as a general team member. That was back in, I actually started on Halloween of grade 10. I was pretty annoyed. I was like, wow, I'm starting on Halloween, and we had to give out candy, and it was a whole thing. And I was like, what's going on? It's my first day here.
That's funny. And you've had, how many jobs since then?
Probably, I think 6 or 7 now.
Yeah.
Kind of just can't make up my mind.
Name some of them, because one of them is pretty cool. Just really quickly.
Oh, the really cool ones. So yeah, I worked at Tim Hortons, I worked at Starbucks, I worked at Roots. And then another one I've done is I was a youth tobacco test shopper for the city of Toronto. And essentially what that was is, most people just call it a snitch, but what it is you go into stores and you try to ask for cigarettes being underage. And if they give it to you, you have an officer with you, and they go in and ticket them and
That's literally the coolest job ever.
go through
and
that
I'm so
process.
jealous. Yeah, that's really cool. Next question. What's one skill you'd like to master?
One skill I'd like to master is definitely playing guitar. That is something I tried at the beginning of quarantine as well. And I started, but trying to do it alone, trying to do it for free without a teacher, trying to motivate yourself is very difficult. So I do plan to get on that eventually.
Yeah.
But who knows when it'll be. But yeah, definitely I want to learn how to play guitar.
Yeah, I would also say Spanish was something you wanted to do for a while, right?
Yeah, for sure. I started that. And again, that kind of got put on hold. It's hard to keep up. And when you don't have anyone else making you do it or motivating you to do it, it's hard to keep that motivation.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you did it for a solid period of time. Like, you got pretty good at it, so.
yeah, I got through. I just did it on that app called Duolingo.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
Hopefully I can start off and continue with that at some point.
Yeah, for sure. What has been your proudest achievement?
Proudest achievement was, I think it would have to be going to internationals for DECA. If you guys don't know, DECA is basically it's in university, but it's more popular in high school. It's a business competition, case competition with multiple choice exams as well, some entrepreneurship. So my partner and I qualified from the regional competition to the provincial one. And then from there, we placed in the top 10 out of, I think it was 180 teams.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and then we actually got to go down to Orlando last April and compete in the international competition there with people from all over the world, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and what's even crazier is that it was your first year doing it, which is impressive.
Yeah, it was our first year doing it, I guess. We just did it well, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah, and you're good at presenting, too. I feel like that's something you're naturally gifted at.
Yeah,
right?
I'm pretty good. I like presenting, so that kind of helps.
Yeah, I guess you're in business. You have to be good at it.
Yeah.
What's the best way to start the day?
Best way to start the day is, wake up early. So I've tried to wake up early a lot. Wake up at 6:30 and get out of bed. Try to get your day started. Go down, grab a coffee, grab a tea, grab water, juice if you want, whatever you drink.
Yeah.
And start the day, start on whatever you have to do, or do some, I don't know, some people like to walk or go for runs or work out. Some people like to just get on to their work, but definitely start the day early. I find you sleep better at night, you sleep earlier, and you get a lot more done. You're a lot more productive when you wake up early.
Yeah, especially during COVID, I feel like why not just wake up early?
Yeah,
right?
It's a good time, especially with school starting back in September. It's good to get back into that schedule.
We're going to go back into sports. Who is your biggest sports inspiration?
Biggest sports inspiration is definitely Russell Wilson, quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. He was kind of the reason why I started watching football. Not the reason I started watching, but the reason I still love the Seahawks to this day. I started watching back when he was just a rookie in his first year, and you guys can't call me a bandwagon because that was in 2012, and the Seahawks were just kind of like a mediocre team before that, and he took them to the playoffs in his first year, and the year after they won the Super Bowl, so that was pretty cool. Since then, I've loved them, favorite team, have Seahawks merchandise all over the place.
Yeah, I was just going to say that his room is filled with Seattle Seahawks merchandise, and literally the podcast cover is
I mean the podcast color. Kind of low-key tried to slip that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Other than that, he's my biggest sports inspiration because he's just a classy guy. He works hard, big family guy. He goes into the sick kids hospital in Seattle every Tuesday, actually, and goes and meets with the children and just does something to make their day. So he's always doing stuff like that, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. So why the Seattle Seahawks then?
So my dad actually liked them since he was in high school, and they weren't very good. They had made it to one Super Bowl, one very controversial Super Bowl in which they lost in 2005. But other than that, it was basically just that, because when I started watching football, he was in love with that team, and I guess I just kind of tagged along and liked them ever since as well.
Yeah, so now you watch them every Sunday, right?
Yeah, every Sunday. We're hoping this year will actually happen. They were supposed to play, well, they are playing in Buffalo this year, and we were supposed to go down because it's kind of the only place that's close to Toronto here. So I was kind of disappointed because now, without having fans in the stadium, if that's happening, or we don't really know what's happening, but we won't be able to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, every Sunday, definitely have it on TV. But I watch the whole entire NFL schedule.
Yeah, and I've been forced to watch it with him as well.
Yeah, definitely trying to make you a fan as well.
No, it's pretty cool. And what are you watching now, like in terms of sports?
Well, I just watched the Leafs, unfortunately, lose another Game 5. We don't want to talk about that. But, the Raptors are still good. I think they just clinched the second seed. And I think I had just saw that they were playing Brooklyn Nets in the first round of the playoffs. So hopefully we can go back-to-back. It's a little bit different this year being all in the bubble. But, yeah, hopefully they can win another championship. And then other than that, unfortunately as well, I watched the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
They are not very good. They have a lot of work to do, but hopefully in the next few years they'll pick it back up.
Yeah. We're almost out of questions, but our next question is, what podcast do you listen to?
Okay, so the podcast I listen to the most is definitely the Work in Sports podcast, which is by Brian Clapp. I listen to that every time I drove to school and back. That's a great podcast for anyone looking to break into the sports industry like myself. He does interviews with high level executives, knows a lot of people in the industry. He gives great advice on jobs, internships, just school in general, networking. So yeah, that's a great one. Another one is The Business of Sports. That one's with Andrew Brandt, and he's a current ESPN sports business analyst, as well as a former player agent and vice president of the Green Bay Packers. So he just does a dive into the business behind the NFL. And then the last one I just kind of recently started listening to is Agent Talk, and that's by NFL player agent Joshua Grady. On the Agent Talk, he doesn't only talk about life as an agent, but he talks about life at home. He has his wife come on. I think he had his little kid come on at one point.
Mm-hmm.
He does investing tips as well. So that's pretty cool. And just to kind of not only talk about sports, but also talk about life while working in sports.
Yeah, for sure. So you're going to have special guests coming onto the show, am I correct?
Yeah, I have a few guests lined up. I won't say too much about it, but I have a few player agents. I have an executive at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and hopefully a student athlete as well. I plan to have more guests and just kind of hope it grows.
Yeah, and I feel like along the way you're going to try to incorporate more like fun episodes like this where it's more casual, not necessarily sports related, maybe more personal.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it for the most part kind of sports business related, but definitely have some maybe like life updates or just other things, talking about life in general. Maybe we'll have some investing episodes as well. Who knows?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that kind of leads me to my next question. What do you do when you're procrastinating?
So when I'm procrastinating, which I shouldn't be doing in the first place, but when I am, it's definitely because I'm probably looking at the stock market.
No, not probably. He's definitely looking at the stock market.
Yeah, I am looking at the stock market. I've always wanted to have kind of one of those tickers that runs around my room on the wall, but with the stocks during the day, and then on game days have sports scores going around as well. So that's kind of something I want to have. I don't even know if it exists, but
no, that'd be really cool. You have right now your monitor set up, right? Where you kind of just stare at stocks when you get bored.
Yeah, stocks has its ups and downs. I'm definitely no financial advisor or anything, but
if you have any questions, please reach out to Rashaad.
or maybe don't, because unless you want to lose some money. But yeah,
no, I feel like for the most part you're pretty good at it.
For the most
some
part,
credit.
I feel like when I take the hits though, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, but that kind of happens to everyone.
Yeah.
My last question I had to toss in there for fun. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One meal for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly too hard because I love food.
Yeah.
And I love all different types of food.
Yeah, I was going to say, his food choices range from, like, just it's so weird. Like, you can't even eat them together. It's just so random.
Yeah, I mean, I like all different types of food from all over the world.
Yeah.
But definitely if I had to make a meal, well, actually I wouldn't make it because it wouldn't be as good. But if I could have one meal, it would probably be some type of pasta with steak and like a garlic, kind of like a garlic Alfredo pasta with steak, and then some scallops and maybe some asparagus as well.
Nice. Now we know what to make for your birthday dinner next year.
Yeah, for sure. That would be great.
Nice. But do you cook, Rashaad?
And sometimes, I mean, I try to cook. That's also a work in progress, but I feel like I'm so slow at cooking that it just takes so much time and the cleanup, but I actually do enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, cool. That's basically all the questions I had.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you for coming on. Thanks for asking the questions. That was pretty fun, and I hope everyone got to know me a little bit better.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. And that wraps up this episode of Sports Biz with Rashaad. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed, be sure to check us out on Instagram at SportsBiz with Rashaad and support us on all other platforms. I'll catch you guys on the next episode.